Hello once again. It is Testimony Tuesday, and boy, we said we was bringing Ron back, and here he is. Hey Ron, now Doug Reprogel pitch hitted for you last week, and we talked about some things, but it is good to have Ron Irick back with us, and we said we were going to do that, and of course, man, I had quite a sick spell, and we had to cancel some things. But I appreciate you being back up here today. And boy, since the last time we did this, you were just telling me you've traveled
887 miles.
4,887 miles in 10 days.
Just missed 5
by himself. Oh my goodness, man!
I had a good time.
Oh, welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Hey, we're going to just kind of pick up where we left off the last time, talking about the history of this church, and we'll probably center in a little more today, Ron, about how young people has contributed to that over the years. And but please, let me encourage you to like this and to share this, and so people can just be familiar with our history, because we have this church has a rich history in this community, and Ron, you've been a part of that, and we talked a little bit about that the last time. Jack Reprogel, and I remember Lester Highslip was here. Now these guys weren't pastors here, but they attended and been pastored in other places. But hey, so Ron, pick up where you was talking about they bought that old school in 1957, and how they used that for youth ministry, and then kind of what it evolved, and bring us up on the hill here, and then we'll take off and talk about this current building and bus ministry and some things like that. So take off, Ron.
Real quick, in 1957. The Bell Fountain School Board built the 3 new elementary buildings, which are all abandoned now. They've gone through their lifespan. But the trustees had the foresight and courage, or whatever, inspiration, to buy Macbeth School Building, which is right across the street from the parsonage of the old church.
Down on Evansville and Chillicothe.
At the very end of Chillicothe Street.
Very end of Chillicothe. Okay,
You'd run right into it if you didn't stop.
Yeah.
I just heard this week they're going to tear it down.
Oh, okay.
But it's either way. They bought the schoolhouse. They called it the Christian Education Building. And for all of us in our lives, we knew it as the CE Building. It was Sunday school, Bible school, youth plays, youth fellowship meetings, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. The whole neighborhood used this building. And a lot of youth activities took place there for many, many years. It was a great investment on the part of the trustees.
Wow, yeah.
And again, the trustees really were looking out for youth ministries all through the life of this church.
Yeah, they have. Now, you were sharing with us the last time that I mean, it was common for VBS to have 400 and 500 kids wanting to come in there.
The streets would be packed full of kids. And it was neighborhood. It was all neighborhood and families.
Yeah. Now, what year did bus ministry begin?
Okay, there's some seeds that were sown. Early on, every Sunday morning, the bus from the children's home came to the Church of God, and all the children's home kids attended Sunday school here.
Okay.
That was a bus. Then in 1965, there was an exciting morning in the church, and Brother Mail announced that there was going to be a dedication of a van after the church service. Well, we didn't know what a van was. In 1965, there were Volkswagen buses, and that was it. Nobody knew what a van was. We thought he said band. Kids are thinking, I'm going to play the tuba, I want to play a trumpet or a clarinet. Well, after church, we go out in the yard. Here's this brand new yellow Ford Econoline 15-passenger van.
Wow.
And it was lettered, First Church of God, Bell Fountain, Ohio. Somebody gave the church that van.
Whoa.
And the next couple of years, it was used a lot. Once a month on Saturday night, we had a youth rally. And we took that van and several other cars, and we'd go to Springfield, Dayton, Columbus, to big district youth rallies. It was a big event. Then offset another Sunday night during the month, we always had what was called a DU, a destination unknown.
Oh, yeah.
After church Sunday night, all the youth would meet out in the parking lot, and we'd get in the van, different people's cars. We'd drive around to town, all over the place, stop at somebody's house, start to get out. This isn't it. Get back in the vehicles, head down the road, stop at somebody's house. This isn't it. Finally get to somebody's house, go inside, sit all around the house, have cookies, Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Somebody would do a Bible lesson, and we just have Saturday night or the Sunday night.
Yeah.
Called it Destination Unknown.
No.
That reached a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Wow.
and then when Tom Smith came as pastor, he brought Brother Bill Kiefer with him from Portisville, Missouri. I couldn't remember if it was Poplar Bluff or Portisville. I think it was Portisville.
Oh, okay.
And they had been doing a bus ministry in Portisville. So they started a bus ministry in Bellefontaine. And they had the 15-pastor van to start with. And that's how it started.
That's how it started.
And it involved Dick Lee, Gleason Hackett, Chuck Barton, and that was the beginning of the bus ministry.
Now, let's back up just a little bit. What year did they buy this property on Brown?
Okay. Pastor Mayo would go out every morning to the old airport down on West Columbus Street, and he would walk the airport and sing and pray. And sometimes one or two people would go with him, but every morning he walked the airport singing and praying.
Yeah.
And looking for a vision for the church.
Yeah.
We did a funeral one day down here at the cemetery on Brown Street. And when he left the cemetery, Marie was with him in the car, and they said, I wonder where this road goes. So they started up the hill on Brown Street, and the pavement quit, and it became gravel road, and they kept on going, and they came over this little hill, and here's this old abandoned farm. And he got out and started walking through this little farm, praying and singing.
Yeah.
And he got the vision, excuse me, he got the vision to build a church on that hill.
And that's right here, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow.
So he started a program to raise money. Every fifth Sunday they took up a special offering. They started an extra place on your envelope to put a building fund.
Yeah.
And for the next several years they just started building up a building fund.
Yeah.
Probably about 1970 or so, they made the move and bought the property. They bought it from a little old lady named Mary Braden.
Now, do you remember how many acres that was originally?
I don't remember how many acres.
8 or 9? Was it 8 or 9?
Something like that.
If I
There was an
remember-
old corn crib.
Yeah.
The remains of foundation of an old house.
Isn't that
a lot of trees, but it was an abandoned farm.
Yeah. Right here where
Right
we
here
are.
where we are, yes.
That's yeah.
And then
wow.
by 1971 or 2, they cleared off the top of the hill, and we did the tent revival here. Put up a big circus tent, put down the sawdust, brought out the folding chairs.
Yeah.
I don't even remember who preached.
Yeah.
But they hired the Boy Scout troop for security. And we slept in the tent at night to guard the sound system and the
Is that
piano and all
right?
that.
Oh, isn't that hilarious? Oh, that's
And
funny.
then when they had the revival, the Boy Scouts were directing traffic.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember Fred Gross?
I do remember
Fred drove in off of Brown Street.
Yeah.
We're directing traffic, telling him he can't go this way, he has to go that way. He says, I'll go wherever I want. And he drove over my foot.
That's hilarious.
Fred.
Oh my goodness.
He had it started with a tent revival.
Yeah.
And then they did the groundbreaking ceremony and the pictures over in the lounge.
Yeah.
And the trustees had gone to Citizens Federal, and a church of mostly factory workers, farmers, and poor people floated the biggest loan that the Bellefontaine banks had ever made.
Really?
And built this building.
Wow. Wow. Man, that is so neat. That is so neat. And now that would have been probably there's a something engraved over on the sanctuary entrance now, built 1976 to 70. I should have looked at that.
The building opened in 73.
Oh, okay. No, so yeah.
Jim Seeley was one of the trustees.
Oh.
Mike and Kit were going to get married, and Cindy and I were going to get married.
Okay.
But since Mike's dad was a trustee, Mike and Kit got married first, and they were married, I think, August 4th on a Saturday. They were the first wedding.
Okay.
And Cindy and I were married a week later on the 11th.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
is
Mike
so
and
neat.
Kit were the first wedding.
Yeah.
And Kit's sister Bev, who's Bev Palmer, they worked for a week on scaffolding, staining the ceiling of the sanctuary so it would be
So
ready,
it'd be
for,
ready
the
for the wedding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most of the rooms didn't have carpet in them yet. The parking lot wasn't paved yet.
Yeah. Wow.
That's when it opened up.
That's what it is.
August 3rd, 1973 was the first service in this church, and it was a wedding.
Yeah.
Then Cindy and I got married the 11th. We moved to Indiana immediately, and we were not here when they did the dedication and moving.
Yeah.
So we missed that part.
So then you came back and you was talking about Tom Smith and Kiefer.
Yeah.
They were kind of the nucleus.
Yes.
He was the pastor.
Yeah.
And they were kind of the nucleus that got bus ministry going.
Yeah.
And of course, I've heard stories, of bus ministry bringing in 300 and 400 kids.
There were mornings down in Chillicothe Street. The unofficial count was 700 people.
Wow. But brought in on buses.
No, total.
Oh, total in the sanctuary.
And
Okay.
the church itself was growing anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and it had started out like 250 people.
Uh-huh.
And the old church would probably comfortably hold 300, maybe 400. It had a balcony, a side alcove, the choir loft. And if you put 30 people in the choir, and you could almost get 100 people in the balcony,
Yeah.
and 100 over here, and then the floor would seat however many. Then they had all the kids across the street, junior church.
Sure.
And the streets were packed full of cars and buses.
I'm sure.
It was a circus.
Yeah.
All you can call it was a circus.
Yeah. And then, of course, when it moved here, of course, now Tom Smith was the pastor, Gary Swager
Yes.
was the pastor, and I followed Pastor
Yes.
Swager in November of 1998.
98. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that the bus ministry, its heyday was under Brother Smith. Is that correct?
Yeah. At one time, I think we had 14 operational buses.
Yeah.
Well, there were multiple buses.
Yeah.
The old 65 van was still operational.
Yeah.
We had 2 other vans.
Mm.
When Gary Swager was here, we bought a brand new van.
Okay.
I think replaced it with a second brand new van.
Yeah.
In 1975, we bought the new bus, a full-size, I think 65 passenger bus. 1975 Ford, brand new.
Okay.
It was a sad day when Jim Nickel and I took it to the dump and it was trashed.
It was
over with.
You wore it out.
You wore it
out. Well, and then of course, Nora and I, we came and began pastoring in 1998, and it was this is probably where we need Fred Hudson to help us out, maybe, or some of these guys. I'm thinking it was 04 when we began building this building, the new addition.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think 03, 04. And I think we wrapped it up in probably about 06 or 07.
I mean, I saw that from a distance.
Yeah.
I was not a part of it.
Right. Yeah. But just real quickly, talk about how this church has a history of for students, for kids, for young people,
Okay. When I first started to come to church, Malcolm McDonald was the pastor, and they called. Don Knight was doing the youth group.
Okay.
Okay. Then there was Marvin Middlebrooks.
Uh-huh.
There was Ed Coe was the first associate that I remember being called as a youth pastor.
All right.
Ed Coe, then Marvin Middlebrooks. And through the years, I was trying to remember who all youth pastors were.
Well,
some were official youth pastors. Some were volunteer couples from the church.
Richard and Beverly
Lee have been a part of this probably since about
they did
69 or 70.
Who else?
So their kids they were just little kids.
Yeah.
And they had a station wagon, and we wore out their station wagon.
Yeah, but I mean, but again, just such emphasis upon kids, students, young people, and man, and maybe just for a moment here as we kind of draw this to a close and wrap it up. Talk about how, because I know you're a history, and I love studying the history of revivals. I do. I don't know. There's just something about it, whether it's in America or in another country or whatever. But talk about a good deal and a lot of what God did It certainly was, the elderly, the old gray hairs and gray heads made their contribution. But talk just briefly about young people and their
Let me do a really personal name names, okay?
Yeah.
In 1971, I was 19 years old, and I was appointed freshman Sunday school teacher.
Okay.
First time I was ever a Sunday school teacher. They trusted me at 19.
Yeah.
My class was in an old house across the street from the church, in an upstairs bedroom. It was a 9 by 12 bedroom in the upstairs of an old house. I put my little folding chairs in a circle.
Yeah.
I put a quarterly on each chair.
Yeah.
I put a pencil on each chair, and I stood there and waited for Sunday school to start. Well, a couple kids start wandering in.
Yeah.
My sister Betty was a freshman that year. Her friend Shirley was a freshman that year. Several other girls came in. My friend Tim Seeley was a freshman that year.
Okay.
Cindy's brother Gary, my now brother-in-law,
Yeah.
was a freshman that year.
Yeah.
Jeff Godwin, now Dr. Godwin.
Yeah.
John Henry, who became the pastor of one of the largest churches in the
Wichita,
movement.
Kansas. Yep.
Laren Robinson.
Oh my God! Did you have
Laren
Laren
Robinson was in my Sunday school
Was he
class.
in your son? Oh my goodness!
Bobby Henry.
Yeah.
Janie Nickel.
Oh,
Foreman.
Janie Foreman. Who's
Jim Nickel.
Oh,
Mary Lou.
Mary Lang.
Yes,
Yeah.
all these people were in my freshman Sunday school class. And I got the class started at 9:30, and somebody yelled, "Here comes a bus!" And we stopped. 10 more kids came into that room,
And
and I started again.
good night.
Somebody yelled, "Here comes another bus!" 4 more kids came into that class. By the time it was almost 10 o'clock, there were 32 freshman kids in that upstairs bedroom. And looking back today, these were the leaders in the church today. In fact, we're almost past their prime.
Yeah. Wow.
But I think how many people came out of that little Sunday school class in the upstairs of an old house across the street?
Yeah. Boy, this church has a history of wisely investing in its future.
Yes, yes.
And boy, I pray that we can keep that going. I pray that becomes our burden and our passion. Let's appreciate those who have given so much and have contributed sweat, blood, and tears.
A lot of tears
to the church. Hey, we applaud you. We appreciate you. But may we never lose sight of the vision that it is young people who dream dreams.
Yes.
Amen.
And the whole purpose of the bus ministry was to reach families. And whether that worked or not, it brought a lot of kids into the bus. And kids became more, there were teenage girls that were bus captains.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Ron, this has been fun, and I appreciate your wealth of knowledge on the history of the church here, and just thank you for coming today. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this, and again, I just ask that you would share it. God bless you.